everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Slated Double Features podcast. With your hosts, Joshua Francisco Mitchell, and some say the Lizan Al Gaib, Matthew Vivian. Hello, Matt.
You've never had chocolate like this.
My favourite line from June. Hello, Matt. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm tired.
That's understandable, to be honest.
Thank you.
I'm quite tired. I've been riding worms all day, every day.
Is that what you call it?
But I'm excited to do this. It's been such a long time since we've done one.
Such a long time. And if I'm being honest, over the last 2 weeks, I've just been distracted by the June bucket. I got one, and I can't keep any part of me out of it.
No, I agree. Every single limb has felt the teethy embrace.
Only fitting for the Lizan Al Gaib.
Yeah, I don't think they do them in the UK, do they? I've not seen one.
No, it's really sad. I tried to get one. It's really sad.
I bet in the US, they just, as soon as they went on shelves, they went.
Yeah, 100%. They're all like being scalped on eBay now.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
As you've all seen from the title, presumably, Dune. Dune 2. Dune Lynch. Dune Jodorowsky.
All of them, except not the miniseries. We're not doing that.
Not that one. It didn't have what's his my friend James McAvoy in.
It did in and he played his son in like the second series, and portrays himself is my friend Alec Newman, who I.
Oh my god, we both have friends in Dune.
We've both worked with the Atreides family.
Oh my god!
But in the one that we're not doing because it's irrelevant.
Weekly roundup, Yee Haw.
Right, do you want to start, or what's happening?
I've seen three things: Dune Part 2, and Jorodovsky's Dune.
I don't need to waste the time talking about them then. Shall I talk about my stuff?
All right, go on then.
Yay! Right, I rewatched RRR. Have you seen it?
Oh, I have.
I showed my friend James McCloskey it because I was like, this movie was made for James McCloskey, and wouldn't you know it, he watched it. The look on his face was like, it was like showing an uncontacted tribe. Like, oh, what's
an iPhone?
Yeah, showing him. I mean, oh god, like the face of God. It was crazy. And then he messaged me like 2 days later saying like, oh, I watched it all again. I showed my family.
Wow.
Great. I'm glad you liked it. I love it too. It's perfect. 10 out of 10. And then I watched all of the X-Men films. Should we talk about them quickly? So I watched them in the definitive watch order. This is my perfect order for watching them.
Is this a chronological or a release?
Chronological order. And
right,
then you get Days of Future Past, rewrites history, you go back again.
It's okay, great.
I mean, it does. Oh, I was gonna say it's quite anticlimactic that way because they get progressively worse, but it does end on Logan, so it actually ends on the biggest high. Right, X-Men First Class. It's good.
Do you not start with the Wolverine?
No, because the Wolverine is like one of the latest. What? That's like one of the last.
Oh no, X-Men Origins. X-Men Origins
that's
Wolverine.
Second, you ruffian.
What? That takes place. What? Him
yeah.
in like old America is before X-Men First Class.
It's not in old America. It's only in old America in the first like scene.
Yeah, so that should be first.
No, well, yeah.
Get out of town. Yeah. I'm already pulling your little fan theories apart, aren't I?
You're an idiot. Obviously, like individual flashback scenes don't count.
What about World War II? That's before First Class.
Oh, you're a buffoon. Okay, well, let's watch that fucking Egypt scene from X-Men Apocalypse first, then. No, X-Men First Class, set in the 60s. It's good. I think it's good.
It's the best one. It's the best X-Men
Matthew
film.
Vaughn, I think, is a good person for X-Men. Everyone gets a chance to shine. It's fun.
James McAvoy, he loved it.
Oh yeah,
he's a big man. He loves it.
He's fun. X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's terrible. First time I watched it, I was like, this is actually quite fun. And people get angry about Deadpool, and I feel like, well, now we've had a proper Deadpool, I quite like it as like a sad, what could have happened, like multiverse thing. I'm like kind of fine with the existence of that, but I'm very glad we got a proper Deadpool. It's a bit shit. X-Men 1. I like it.
X-Men 1, yeah.
I think it's quite fun.
Yeah.
I love seeing the school. That's my favourite part of it. The whole trilogy, I'll just do it in one go. X2 is the best.
X2 is the best.
I just like seeing the students and the school, and then like the teachers being like superheroes, and them in the third one, the students like become X-Men.
Ian
really like
McKellen and Patrick Stewart are
I love their dynamic too.
Superb casting.
The way they're like friends and nemesis, I think works
They're
so
like
well.
definitive faces for the characters.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I am most sad that they did your boy Cyclops dirty and just made James Marsden into just a fool.
Yeah, well, he's kind of... Because all he's got going on is his, like, love triangle with Wolverine. Well, not with Wolverine, with Jean Grey.
No, it's with Wolverine.
With Wolverine, yeah. But because Wolverine's the lead, it's meant to be the audience is rooting for him, and so they have to make Cyclops, like, dislikable. But it just doesn't work for me at all, because why do Jean and Wolverine have nothing in common? They barely have any scenes together. And it's like... Why would I be rooting on her cheating on her boyfriend with Wolverine?
I know, with small hairy man.
Right, what's next? The Last Stand. That's a bit disappointing. The Dark Phoenix stuff is trash, but I liked seeing the students.
But they redo the Dark Phoenix and make it really good, so it's okay.
True. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. The Wolverine. Oh, I hate the Wolverine. Some people like it.
I only saw it when it came out, and at that point, I was very much into comic books. And I hated what they did to the Silver Samurai, so I haven't seen it since.
I think you mean Shredder. His name's Shredder.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so he's
Shredder from the Michael Bay
He's normally in the TMNT ones, but yeah, he crossed over with this. It's just like, it doesn't add anything to his character, doesn't add anything to the overall series. The fight on top of the train is sick, rad as fuck, loved it, loved every second, rest sucked. Days of Future Past. Every time I watch it, I do like it a little less, but I do think it's good. It
falls into... I think Civil War is different. I think Civil War is a film good in its own right. It falls into like the No Way Home remake.
Like just cameos.
It is. And I think that was kind of the first of its kind. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say it probably was, because that was like getting back returning favourites, like and let's cross over
big selling point.
This group with this group.
Did you watch the original or the Rogue cut?
I watched the original this time. I watched the Rogue cut before, and I thought it ruined the movie.
Oh, how so?
But this is strange, because it's one of these things where when you watch a film with your parents that they aren't really enjoying, you just notice all the flaws. And so I was watching it being like, this is just dragging, and they're adding like obstacles that like don't really matter, because I've seen the version without them, and it's like adding the obstacles when they need to go and get Rogue was a bit like, this is strange. But I think in the overall, having watched all of them, it's weird how Rogue's not in it, and I feel like, because she's basically like kind of the lead of the first X-Men film. She's the most like human one.
Why do they need to go and get Rogue? Because the person who does time travel gets injured or something, and she steals his powers.
I think because Wolverine's slashing with his claws because he's in pain or something, and he cuts Kitty Pryde, and she's not feeling so good, and so they have to go to... Is it underneath the X Mansion? It's a long time since I watched it. And they find...
But I mean, Kitty Pryde can't actually like travel through time or nothing. I thought that's why they did the Rogue cut, was originally like Kitty Pryde's not doing anything because all she does is go through walls. And it doesn't make sense that she can send his consciousness through time.
It is weird. Yeah, I guess I just thought, well, who's the character we've already got that can do... that makes the most sense for? I would say Charles Xavier, personally.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's weird.
Did you see, on a side note, talking about Elliot Page, Vinnie Jones declined turning up for Deadpool 3 as the Juggernaut.
I did see that.
Because he hated putting the costume on.
Yeah, I saw that. Well,
he could have done the old, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
I kind of get it, because at the end of the day, he's in it because he was a shit character. That's why they'd want him in it, to take the piss. But that would have been good to be in the movie. Days of Future Past, I'll say my biggest negative is I hate what they do with young Charles Xavier. Like, they just undo him being shot in the back, and he'd taken the pills, which suppresses his mutant abilities, not interesting then, and he can walk, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and
completely.
I think the only reason they make him walk is so he can do that heist. But he doesn't need to do the heist because we've got other characters there, so he can just be like the man in the chair, like
like literally.
Yeah, literally. So I don't get that. Right, what's next? We've got Apocalypse. It's boring. It's not very good.
Bad.
It's
Sophie
just
Turner.
silly.
I'm so glad that Sophie Turner isn't in anything anymore because she can't act for toffee.
She was the best part of Do Revenge, and she's in about 2 minutes. She's really funny, and I've never seen her be so outstanding in anything else ever. Dark Phoenix is really bad.
Good. On that note, I'm glad they made an entire film around her.
Yeah, I think Dark Phoenix, when I was first started, because I watched it originally at uni, I was like, this is rubbish. And then I watched it again, and the first, 20 minutes or so, I was like, okay, this is interesting, because they're doing it as... Clearly they've seen... Logan had just come out a couple of years earlier. They saw how well that did, and went, okay, well then let's do more of a drama again. Let's focus on character, rather than just doing a big popcorn movie, which didn't go that well with Apocalypse. And so I was like, okay, cool, this is good. We've got some interesting character study of Jean here. And then she just starts killing civilians because they need a villain in the movie. And they put scrolls in it with the name crossed out and a different alien name put in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? It just completely loses its way.
Well, a lot of it was down to reshoots, wasn't it? Do you remember when it came out? And I'm pretty sure the first trailer shows that the final conflict is in a space station. But they realised that the climax was too similar to Captain Marvel, so then changed it to just being on a train, which
that's
is infinitely less interesting.
Anytime it says the name of the species, you can't see the actors' lips moving because people say it's dubbed because they were Skrulls. I mean, they look like Skrulls and they shapeshift, but they use the name of one of the planets that Jean destroys in the comics, but they have the appearance and the physicality of a Skrull, so that makes people think they use that. Yeah, it's really bad. Finally, is Logan. It's perfect. It's just really good.
I think you've missed one.
Oh, there's the Deadpool films and there's New Mutants. Yeah,
New Mutants. Have you seen New Mutants?
I have seen New Mutants about twice, 3 times. But it's fine because it's formulaic and the formula exists for a reason. So it's like, I
just think it was sad that it was such a letdown because it could have been really interesting.
I remember when the first trailer came out, 3 years before the actual film did, which they've even taken the piss out of in the final trailer, all the release dates crossed out and stuff. The first trailer was like, okay, this is like a horror sci-fi movie. This is quite interesting. And then it just got re-edited when Fox was bought by Disney, and they're like, But I'm glad they released a version of it rather than these days they're like, just don't release it at all. Yeah. Like what Warner Brothers does.
I mean, Magic. Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic. That's great casting. Yeah, Maisie Williams is
awful in that movie.
Was she Wolfsbane?
Wolfbane. Yeah. She's really bad. But Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things, the cast is so famous.
Yeah,
Logan's great. I hope Daphne Keane returns as X-23. We'll see. Would love that. Right, that's my X-Men roundup. I've got a few others, but I fucking talked about them so much. Mrs. Doubtfire, phenomenal. Kay the Torture's Crossing, it's like a fucking lunatic wrote it. The Strangers, really scary, completely falls apart. Sound of Music.
Oh my god, The Strangers, yes. It's great up until Glenn Howerton turns up.
Yeah.
Glenn Howerton ruins the film.
Moment. Yeah. I mean, not least because it's not scary because I'm like, well, that's Dennis. But the characters don't act like human beings, and there's no stakes, and then nothing's resolved. It just all fizzles out. But the build-up's scary.
It doesn't understand what makes it scary. The fact that they get a gun and then it turns into let's hide in a room until they leave.
Yeah. There's so much going from room to room trying to hide from them. It just makes the strangers feel pathetic, the fact they don't do anything all movie.
The first half and then the ending, the realisation, why have you broken in to try and kill us? And they were like, well, no reason. We just wanted to. See, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And how they get in the pickup truck and just go.
Yeah.
I hope, because they're doing 3 more Strangers. There's one coming up this year.
There is one called, what's it called, Chapter 1 or something? And they already did a sequel.
So I hope that it's going to be more like the first half, just really slow paced and building and creepy, not like a Blumhouse
that before
film.
Now, so it's I feel like it's a film that doesn't need a franchise. I've just got a few more to really quickly do. The Sound of Music, I watched it for the first time. Every song is so iconic. They're also the worst songs on earth. And they're really badly staged. All the dance shit. It's overrated, but it's fine. Rye Lane, it's alright. I'll just kind of forget it though. And every time I watched that, every bit I was like, God, I fucking wouldn't want to live in London. And Alistair was like, afterwards, he was like, why did you only give it 3 stars? Like, that is literally filmed right outside my house. And it's like, yeah, I've been to your house. It's dumb. I don't want to be there. Right, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Fantastic practical effects.
Oh, Rick Moranis, I love him.
Rick Moranis is phenomenal. What a guy. I want him to come back.
I want him to come back, yeah.
The effects are really cool, but it's sort of... I don't know, it's fine, it's a film. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, okay. It's fine, it's pretty good. Aliens in the Attic, loved it as a kid. Thought it'd be shit. It holds up for kids. And that's me done. That was long. Bloody hell.
3 years after the original Dune, Dune Part 2 is finally here. And I know you've certainly got some opinions about the film.
We've kind of popped off in that we've got now over 100 subscribers, don't mean to brag.
We're kind of like famous now.
We actually get quite a lot of comments these days.
Oh my God, a lot. And only about half of them are abusive.
I know, but some people are being really complimentary about us having like a really good dynamic, like because we were on the same wavelength. So all the
one of us is right and one of us is wrong. One of us tells lies and one of us doesn't.
And it's a big burden for me that having to be right every time, but like someone's going to do it. But
he also lies.
Everyone on our Madam Web video who are like, wow, they work with each other so well. You're going to hate this because we're about to argue with each other about these films. We're going to get hopefully quite heated. If you liked our Willy Wonka reviews, you're going to love this. Right.
So we've both rewatched Dune 2021. We've seen Dune Part 2. And later on we're going to talk about Jodorowsky's Dune and touch on Lynch's Dune.
Yeah.
This is primarily going to be about Dune Part 2. With the context of Dune 1.
Yeah.
We're going to start off spoiler-less. No spoilers.
I'll try.
Dune Part 2. For me...
Yeah.
Goodness, oh boy, oh golly gosh. What a great experience. I loved it. From start to finish. As an enjoyer of the book, I think it's just so well executed. And I think it's so clever and subversive.
No, it's not.
I think it is.
What are you talking about?
I think it's visually stunning. I think
it's
the
grey.
Performances are
grey.
Great.
Everything is grey and flat.
So let's break it down. I think that's the best way to do it.
I like the orange bits.
So, what was the plot?
Oh, who cares? No, the plot. Actually, the plot's quite good. It's fine. It's fine. The plot is this part 2?
Yes.
Right, so the last time we saw our heroes, Paul and his mum, Jessica, were in the desert with the Fremen. House Harkonnen had just taken over Arrakis. Paul's family are dead, and his like mates and his soldiers. So he's in the desert and he needs to learn the Fremen's ways because he might be the chosen one, maybe. He's seeing visions.
Maybe
he's seen Zendaya in person now after just visions. And yeah, he's just trying to... Is he Jesus?
Is he Jesus? Maybe.
And we'll just find that out. Meanwhile, the Harkonnens are on their backs because they're trying to hunt down Paul.
That is Dune 2, among some other things. What did you think of the story?
I think the story is fine. I like the sort of like Game of Thrones. You know how you got your different factions. They're all got their different goals. They're all trying to get power. People fighting over it, and they got the different motivations. Then all the characters are flawed and a bit grey. And there's no. You think I do like how it starts off. You think like Atreides goodies, Harkonnens baddies, and it sort of becomes a bit more like now they're both like just colonising rich pieces of shit.
Yeah, completely.
And it's the Fremens who you want. But then even then the Fremens are now they're ending it, going on a jihad, killing everyone else, and it's like, well, they're bad too. So I like that. The greyness of it all. Not the cinematographical greyness of the... I like the... the story's fine. There's other... My problem is everything else.
Have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
No, and we always say that...
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter. You should be able to see a film without having read the book or read source material, and you should be able to watch it and enjoy it as a vacuum.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of gripes I had when I originally watched Dune 1, there are a couple of tiny little bits missing that just weaken it compared to the book. After rewatching Dune 1, I enjoyed it a lot more. Dune 2, I just think it's so strong story-wise. And I think you're completely right. I think it's a bit maybe reductive to say it's like Game of Thrones, because that kind of just starts as a great wagon and then just falls into like an atomic mess.
Yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones, when I say that as a compliment, I mean the first like 6 seasons when it was good.
Good Game of Thrones.
Yeah, good Game of Thrones. Well, I don't know how Dune ends, and actually, from what I hear, Dune just sort of fizzles out into nonsense too.
Yeah, I mean,
books.
It's something that Jodorowsky talks about in the documentary, that although Dune 1 and Dune Part 2 are based on the book Dune, it then continues on. It's like serialized, isn't it, through Frank Herbert, and then maybe his son takes it on, or someone else takes it on.
Yeah.
So Dune Part 3 is going to be based on the book Dune Messiah. Which should bring it to a conclusion. I think Big Denis Villeneuve, has such a great style throughout this. I think the direction in this is stellar.
No, I totally disagree with that. I think he's a great director. I think Arrival is a perfect film. I think he's directed it to be the most boring it can possibly be. I think
you are joking.
I don't give a shit about a single character. I think
way.
It's not just look, the style of like. I love the way it's edited, for instance. Apart from the pacing, I love. There's certain bits of like the visual style that I'm into, but a lot of directing is directing actors, and I don't believe that any of the characters are real. I don't believe there's any depth to any of them, and I don't believe their chemistry with each other, and I don't care about them at all. There's nothing made me care about the characters.
So the hard thing about adapting Dune, you read the book and so much of it is internalized. You read a lot of what Paul is thinking, and you understand that he's been groomed for generations to be this like next level thinker, because you understand how he approaches a situation like through his thought process, which you can't do in a film, right? You can't approach a thought process like that.
I will say Paul was considerably more interesting and in-depth in the second one to the first one.
Yes.
I think my main problem is because Paul I actually found quite interesting. The more like three-dimensional he got as the movie progressed, and the more you kind of changing your opinions on him, I was like, this is good shit. This is interesting.
Yeah, he has agency, and he understands the first film he's been taken through this narrative that's been happening through centuries. And Dune 2 picks up, it's now just him and Jessica. And they have to figure out not only how to survive on this desert, not only survive around the Fremen, but also like navigate intergalactic politics in a way that restores House Atreides to power in Arrakis and kills the Harkonnens.
Yeah, but it's not an interesting way. It's just, we'll just marry the Emperor's daughter. It's not
as easy as that.
Well, yeah, they need to go south and draw everyone in and do a bit of a trap. And
the biggest, what I found most interesting about this was the white savior subversion.
Yeah.
It's the political intrigue and weaving around that, I think, was done so well that it takes the classic concept of white savior, of hey, I'm just a white boy here in this place, but I'm actually here to save you.
But I do feel like it kind of still is that white rich guy goes to a foreign land, desert, where a bunch of like brown people who speak another language and have a different culture to him. He takes them over, he becomes their leader, and he rules them, and he does what they couldn't do on their own. And I don't think it really does subvert that. I feel like it just follows that trope to a T, really.
But it's not like... What's an example? Like The Last Samurai, of Tom Cruise rocking up to feudal Japan and becoming the best samurai that ever was. This is very much like he knows that he's been groomed for generations by Bene Gesserit to be in House Atreides, to have the power of the voice, and he knows the Bene Gesserit have been going around Arrakis, like, creating propaganda that a white savior is going to come. Like, it's all predetermined. Religion is predetermined to get more power for the powerful people, and he knows that, and Jessica knows that, but Jessica wants to use that for, like, Bene Gesserit reasons, and he's like, I don't want to do it, but I have to. So it's hard to know whether he genuinely believes in the Fremen and wants to help them. It's not entirely clear.
Yeah,
but he still,
that was, like, interesting.
Kind of drags his feet and manipulates the situation. Like, he has to, because he has to find a way to get revenge and bring his house back up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, okay, they did add a bit more depth to the sort of white saviourness in that, he wasn't just the best of them. They do always say, oh yeah, you're shit at sand walking. Well, he was good at riding the worm. But yeah, and they are sort of intelligent, and they're shown to be kind of the heart of the story and the most morally justified, because they just want to sort of be left alone and not get involved until they do.
Until they have to. Until they're manipulated into believing that the Messiah has arrived and takes them into a holy war.
What I think doesn't work as well is it kind of makes them out to be, like, stupid and easily manipulated and sort of just used for the...
But then I think that's a commentary on like modern, not to get political. We're getting political in this podcast right now. I think it's more of a commentary by Herbert on religion than on, like, that kind of culture.
Well, I would expand about this point, but it'd be a bit of a spoiler.
No
but I was going to say, where it goes is like, okay, there is some interesting stuff there.
Let's talk about performance. So you don't think that they were directed overly well?
I don't think they were the right cast, a lot of them. I think, so this movie is very expensive, and I think they wanted to draw as many audiences as possible, and so every single cast member is really famous, like the most famous person on earth right now, and I think that can be a problem. I think I was looking at no, I can see a positive. I'll say the positive first. It's like what Edgar Wright said with Hot Fuzz. He deliberately wanted to have named actors in the UK because there's so many characters. He thought, if you're like, okay, that's Anne Reid, that's Edward Woodward, that's then it's a lot easier to remember them. That's Timothy Dalton, and that is definitely true for Dune. I can be like, oh, I remember that character. That's Dave Bautista. That's David Dasmalchian. Yeah, I get that. I think it's really hard to watch it and not think that's Timothy Chalamet, that's Zendaya, that's Oscar Isaac. You know what I mean? I think they're so famous. I think at least Paul should have been an unknown, even if you're going to get everyone else. You know what?
I completely agree. And I don't think Zendaya. I think none of them are the best performances I've ever done. Like, not even
not by a long way. Probably Timothy Chalamet, because I don't think he's great in very much, and Part 2 he's all right in.
He doesn't do much for me. I think this is probably the best performance I've seen him do, because he doesn't really do a lot.
I've never been a fan of his. He's just hide because he's hot. And
I think Rebecca Ferguson in this is great. I don't think she usually does a lot. I think she does a lot.
But I do think, like, this is the biggest thing ever. Everyone's getting to 5 stars. Are you honestly saying that? Take all of these cast. Is this the best character they've played? Is this the best role they've done? Of course it isn't.
Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen.
He's really good, but he's barely in it, and he's really one note. He's just an evil, gross man. That's it.
Elvis?
Yeah, he's great, but he was better as well. He was possibly the best.
I think so. Dave Bautista wasn't really in it a lot.
I'd say he was one of the best. I mean, but I think my problems come with, like, there's a bit in this one where it's like, and it's not, who cares if it's a spoiler? It's like, they're like, oh, wow, Josh Brolin's alive. Wow.
Well, he's in the posters, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Least charismatic actor in the world, Josh Brolin, is now back in the film. Fantastic. Josh Brolin is shit in everything.
Oh, what? What's this hot take? Where's this come from?
He's quite good in Men in Black 3 as a young Tommy Lee Jones. But
What, No Country for Old Men?
I haven't seen.
What about Sicario?
I haven't seen.
Come on then, get off your little high horse.
Thanos, I think a different actor could have done that better. He's good as Cable, but another actor could have done it better. Old Boy, awful. He's just got no charisma. He's terrible as Gurney. Patrick Stewart's worse though. He was really bad.
But he's supposed to be like a veteran,
Stern,
battle hardened. Nothing catches him by surprise.
Yeah, but I think they could have got a more of like a tough guy then, or more of like an older Carl Weathers.
Carl
I don't know, that was just the first person to come to mind.
Yeah, that's a great shout. Yeah,
I
Carl
literally
Weathers.
don't know
Yeah, I think he died the other day, didn't he? But
He did,
he
but
would have been great.
Yeah, but he died
yeah.
before they shot the film. I mean, after they shot the film. I don't know. I don't like Josh Brolin. Well, I'm sure he's a lovely man, but
poor
who
Josh.
else is there? Who's not? Florence Pugh is one of the best actors working today. She had nothing to work on.
She'll be in the next one. She has to be.
I suppose, yeah. Anya
As
Taylor-Joy is his
Aurelian.
unborn sister.
Oh yeah, she rocks up. That's
Is she in the
weird.
next one then?
What
Is
a
she in the
weird.
next one?
She must be. What a weird thing.
Because that's another one where it's so distracting because she's so famous. It's just, you're just like, why is Anya Taylor-Joy there? And then she's never in it again. Like, we got glimpses of Zendaya in the first one, and then she was important later on. Is Anya Taylor-Joy going to be big in the next one?
Well, she'll have to be because she's in it.
That's just...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I think the biggest issues for me, I don't really... This kind of compounds that I don't really rate Zendaya. She doesn't really do anything for me.
She didn't, yeah. But I think that was also the character. I mean, I think Zendaya... Her best performances as Rue in Euphoria, I think she's phenomenal, because she gets so emotional and so like snotty and gross. And in this, I think I saw some like racist like boomers saying like just slagging off her and being like, oh, but was it Sean Summit, the woman from Blade Runner who was Johnny in the original? Well, anyway,
I don't know.
They were saying, oh, she's so beautiful and so perfect. Like, look at Zendaya, and it's like, yeah, but she lives in a desert. Like, I actually thought Zendaya being the way, I actually thought that was like fine as a performance. I don't think there was anything on the page, so I think like she kind of did what she could with it.
Again, maybe this is because it sets up for part 3, but she is supposed to be very important, and I just don't think she plays it overly well.
Well, I think very bland. Doesn't show any emotion.
But then I think she's just very bland in everything. Other than that one Disney Channel show she was in.
But she's really good in Euphoria. I know she can do it.
Yeah.
But that is the case. Look, they should have got someone else. They got it because she's Zendaya, because she's a name.
Yeah, completely.
She got people. I mean, the whole marketing of the first film was like, look, Zendaya's in this movie, and she's in about 4 minutes.
Yeah. Cinematography.
The first one won, didn't it?
Orange.
It's not orange. It's orange occasionally, and that looks quite nice. And then most of the time, it's such a desaturated, like grey sand colour.
What about the worms? Big worms. They were shot nice.
They're the same colour as the sand, and so are all the costumes, and so are
but
all
how
of the
are you
vehicles.
going to film? How are you going to film like a desert film?
Yeah, but you have higher contrast, or you have more vibrant. Or when the fucking Harkonnens are fighting the Atreides, not the Atreides, the Fremen. Why are they both just in grey suits? I can't tell who's who. I mean, the Fremen, grey, fine, but then make the most out of their like tan-coloured like wraps, and the texture of their costume is like they've got this cloth that flows when they move, and then you got the Harkonnens, smooth all over, like
smooth rubber.
black.
Yeah,
like great. These two, I'm gonna tell who's who. But you watch the film and they're both just grey, like futuristic suits. And it's like, what the fuck is this?
Let me change your mind.
Okay.
Let me change your mind. What's the Harkonnen planet called?
Geddy Prime?
Geddy Prime. What about that? What do you think about that?
That's quite fun. I quite like that. It looks kind of like horror-y. It looks like the inside of the spaceship in Arrival.
Yes. It reminds me, when you... so you see it in the trailers, there are... it's usually when you see Elvis in the trailer, and he's like shouting, doing his big Elvis shout.
Yeah.
And it's all black and white, and you're like, ooh, I wonder why that's black and white. You'll find out We won't say it now because this is non-spoilers, but you'll find out when you watch the film.
It's the sort of thing no one who cares.
The thought process behind it and the way they worked it into the world and the way it just so organically changes palette. And
I didn't fully understand it, but I thought it would
fit.
I think that was cool.
Great. It's one of those ideas that you're like, why didn't I think of this? It's such a great. That transition, that sequence is going to be one of the film school sequences. Yeah. Like that idea, it's going to be, why didn't I do that? Short films for the next 10 years are going to be that. There are just going to be
I don't think it's that
weird
clever.
sequences like that. I think it's great.
It's fine. I don't know, but all these things is like, yeah, there's good little moments. There's interesting stuff in there, but it's a 2.5 hour movie that is so slow and so boring for most of it.
Oh my god!
If it was like interesting thing, cool, then I'd be interested. But it's just interesting thing, and now we need to watch them walking through a desert for a fucking 5-minute scene. And
but then that's the difference between this and Star Wars.
Star Wars has a pace to it.
Star Wars is a film which is a film. Dune is a book which is a film.
Yeah, but I think this was just, it seemed like almost a word for word recreation of the book. Everything has to be kept in, and sometimes you need to make changes, and you need to be like, that doesn't work well for this format. Look at
Jorodovsky.
Look at Jorodovsky. Let's just keep the name Dune and then change everything else.
What was the line he says? I rape it. I rape Dune.
I rape Frank Herbert, but in a nice way. Yeah. God, what a character.
Oh man. What else? What else is there about Dune Part 2?
Nothing. See, that's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, it's flawless. Okay, right. It's not though, is it? Who's your favourite character in Dune Part 2?
It'd be Elvis.
Okay, what's interesting about him?
I think it's interesting.
Seen anything else before?
I think it's interesting that this is a story where you watch it and you go, "Wow, the hero of this film is Paul Atreides," and then you watch it, and
shall we go to spoilers?
Let's go into spoilers.
Yeah, let's go into spoilers.
Spoilers. This is a spoiler warning. We're going into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. You watch the film and you're like, wow, Paul Atreides is the hero. I'm really rooting for him.
Yeah.
But he's also leading like a holy war.
Yeah.
So that's kind of putting some bad points on my Paul side.
Yeah.
And then you look at Elvis and you're like, Elvis is an evil man because we know the Harkonnens are evil and they all look like eggs. And he's savage and he's aggressive and he's boisterous and he's vain. But there are like odd scenes. You're like, why are we following the princess and the Bene Gesserit lady and Leia Sadu? Why are we following them? That's just irrelevant to the story. But then you're like, oh, wait a second. They've groomed Elvis in exactly the way that they've groomed Paul. Okay. So they are the same because it's all about creating a white savior to indoctrinate a people. So whether that's Paul who indoctrinates Arrakis for spice as an easy way to get space travel, or it's Elvis in a different way, either way, the people with power are going to get spice.
That is... You've sort of sold me on that. That is interesting as a parallel. But I just do feel like his character is, I'm evil, I'm cruel, I'm selfish. And that's it. But I think the people around him manipulating him is interesting. And I think the way that it starts off, he's like so heavily contrasted to the heroic Paul. And then Paul, the more power he gets, the more he sort of becomes no different to him.
And their fight at the end.
Their fight was
sick.
Cool. I don't get why Paul was like stabbed in the shoulder, and I think in the gut too, and didn't really react. And then he stabbed a fella in the heart and dead. And it was like, well, I don't know. Paul should be on the floor still. Whatever. That's my problem with every movie ever. It's not just a Dune thing. Like you were saying earlier, with the way you like find out information in this, which you knew in the book, but maybe wasn't as well done in the film.
Yes.
spice, the importance of spice.
Yes, spice.
I think in Lynch's film, the exposition is just horrendous. But I did, from the first few minutes of that, get more invested in the importance of spice and its role in the story than I ever did in Villeneuve's one. Like, I think even just the inclusion of... the most interesting thing I've seen in any of these films is the fact that over thousands of years they genetically evolved like a human with spice to be able to travel, and he's like a creature, and I think that's sick, and it's barely touched upon, and it's not in the new films, and I think that is so sick. What a cool concept, and that's freaky, and I love that. I don't know why that's not in it. Why is that not in the new one? That's so cool.
I don't know. That Spider-Man is, though. That weird spider thing from the first one. That's in it.
Yeah, but that doesn't really have anything to do with it, apart from just being like, God, he's a weird man, isn't he? He's a baddie for doing that to someone.
You know what? I'm starting to feel like it's actually a metaphor for the Western powers going to the Middle East.
No, it is.
What do you think?
It is. And that is good. That's good stuff. The content is good. The story is good. The themes are good. I just think it's boring. That's where I come from. It's boringly presented. But yes, that's a great parallel. And yes,
how do you feel that Dune almost did everything? Everything sci-fi, Dune. How do you feel that most modern sci-fi cinema is Dune?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's true. Yeah.
Star Wars is like blatant. Look, it's not even embarrassed by the fact it's Dune.
I'm happy to give Frank Herbert credit for that, but I'm not giving Denis Villeneuve credit for that.
Oh,
and that's why
poor
I think.
Denis.
Look, he's done some great films. I loved Arrival.
Cut him a break. This is going to win Best Picture next year at the Oscars.
No, it won't.
It will.
No,
Here you
it
go.
won't. He doesn't deserve it. This is what I've noticed from any one of our reviews. You are interested in films when they make you think. I am interested in films when they make me feel. Is that fair? I
think that's fair.
You like meaning and message and stuff like that can intellectually stimulate you, and then kind of to you being entertaining is secondary, whereas I say it needs to entertain me first and be fun and engaging, and then that's a bare minimum, and then it needs to and then I love if you layer some interesting themes and stuff within it, but I think you can tolerate just themes and just message and you'll be satisfied with that, whereas I don't have the attention span for that.
And that's completely fine, because however anyone at home interprets art, that is a valid way to interpret it.
Oh, wow, what a healthy discussion this has been.
Very healthy. And make sure you're having healthy discussions with your friends too, people at home.
Yeah.
I rated Dune Part 2 5 stars, and I would like to see it again, but probably don't have time.
Well, I watched Dune 1 last week. I rewatched it. I watched it in the cinema too. And then I watched it this morning with my dad, because he wanted to see Dune 2 with me. He hadn't seen Dune 1. He read the book, which is weird, because after I finished it, he was like, I didn't like the book, so I don't know why I wanted to see that film, because I didn't really like the film either.
Okay, Tim, calm down.
But God. Yeah, I gave Dune 2 3 stars. So now I've seen Dune 1 3 times. I think more times I've watched it, I've been more into the lore, and I've thought, okay, this is the interesting lore, interesting themes. I still don't care about the characters. And then Dune 2 is like, I'd have to rewatch it, but I don't really have the energy. But it's like, yeah, there's interesting stuff there. If a different director took it, I think it could be adapted into something I'd love. But it's just
like David Lynch.
Yeah, like David Lynch. But it's been basically universally considered that this is the definitive Dune, so I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think
it's just not my taste for this sort of story.
And that is completely fair enough. You go and watch Star Wars.
It's fine. There's plenty of other films out there. You enjoy Dune, and I'll enjoy Mean Girls.
Phantom Menace. Oh.
No, this is better than The Phantom Menace. Is it better? No, I'd rather watch The Phantom Menace. I would rather watch The Phantom Menace. I can I can see that this is better.
Now that's pod racing.
So there's obviously a new Dune out this week, and in the 80s there was another Dune out. But in the 70s there wasn't a Dune. Do you want to tell us why not?
Famously, it was introduced in 1975. Before that, there was only 11 months in a year. And it was only after the calendar started to fall out of whack that they went, wait a second, maybe we should make it 12 months. And so it was in the 70s that they added June into the calendar.
That's a very clever joke because of our British accents. That wouldn't have worked in America because they say Dune. It's got a U in it. It's Dune, you fools. It's Dune, not Dune.
Matt, 50% of our watchers are American. Take that back.
It's more than that, actually, yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be silly. Dune. Jodorowsky's Dune was a documentary filmed in 2013 by Frank Pavich. It's pretty interesting.
It is good. So it was a good documentary.
Should I tell you what it's about?
Yep, I'd love that.
Okay. It follows extremely eccentric, and that's putting it nicely, director Jodorowsky, following a couple of like weird art house hits with El Topo, Holy Mountain. In 1974, he tried to adapt Dune into a feature film, but because of one reason or another, he ended up creating this massive like A3 Bible of storyboards and plans that was just never released. It was never made. And so this documentary documents the process, the crewing, the storyboarding, and the ultimate failure of Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah, and it could have been one of the biggest films ever. It could have been one of the biggest flops ever. But if it was made, it would have been... Well, they wanted $15 million to make it, which back then is quite a lot of money. It would have had some huge stars attached. If it all was made exactly as planned,
yes,
it would have been a landmark film in cinema. But it also would have completely changed cinema because it ends with saying how the fact this wasn't made led to other things being made, which then influenced other things, and the storyboards for this. Yeah. They try and claim at the end, which I kind of call bullshit on, like that people saw the storyboards and then were inspired, and then they showed a bunch of like similar shots, and I was like, I don't think Raiders of the Lost Ark, the thing coming out of the Ark is taken from Jodorowsky's Dune. I thought that was very tenuous.
100%. Like, oh yeah, of course Alien and Prometheus are going to be inspired by Jodorowsky's Dune, which also had H.R. Geiger as one of the main artists on. Yeah, of course it's going to be.
He reused that concept art. It's like, yeah, of course. But and it's like Flash Gordon. It's like, yeah, there was a big room with a bunch of aliens in. It's like, yeah, but do you really think Jodorowsky came up with that? Like, that was a bit of a stretch.
So what I found most interesting about Jodorowsky as a director, as a person, I know it's something that I enjoy, and Matt, we've done it a couple of times now and hope to do some more successful ones in the future. I do think it's always important to sit down with the director in like an informal setting, and just kind of pick their brain and understand what makes them tick, and what you can take away from that, because 9 times out of 10, if you get nothing else, it's going to be inspiration. You're going to walk away and feel like invigorated.
I did.
Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to start my next project.
Like, he sounded so creative. Like, just the way he was thinking was so
completely.
He sounded like a genius, and his ideas sound. It's weird because if you saw his ideas written down, or even if you just watched his film, you'd be like, "This is insane. This is like maybe even bad." But his enthusiasm and his backing up absolutely every one of his decisions with a reason was really infectious, and so he came across so well.
So he started in like the Mexican film scene in a time where correct me if I'm wrong, where you couldn't direct a film unless you were part of like a directors guild.
That's what he said. Yeah,
like, and you legally couldn't make a film unless you're part of this guild.
Union. And he said, like, how dare you do this to art? I'm just going to make it anyway.
Yeah,
Like you
and
can't tell an artist not to do it, and he's right.
And his films are like famously very artistic.
Yeah.
Very creative, very
I
unique.
looked them up. They've got good reviews, but they're very they're incredibly surrealist, and which isn't necessarily a go-to genre for me. But looking at them, they looked very interesting.
And it was after his successes with these films that he was approached by a producer, and like he said, "What do you want to do? You can do anything."
Yeah.
And he said Dune. But a point that he makes very clear from the start is that it is Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah.
It's not Frank Herbert's Dune. And so that's a very big departure from Villeneuve's Dunes, which are as close to a faithful adaptation to the book as you can get. Jodorowsky's Dune, it's just vague names and places.
But I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I mean, it might annoy some fans of the book, but I think that's kind of fine for films. Like, take The Shining is...
completely. Yeah.
That's Kubrick wanted to make a horror film, and so it was like, okay, let's see if there's any books where I can take the skeleton of that and then build my horror film on that. And Jojo Rabbit with Taika Waititi, what's that? Is it Caging Skies, the book it's based on? It's very loosely based. He wanted to make a film and took that as a skeleton and then made it a Taika Waititi film. And so I get that he's taken the loose concept of Dune and it's like, I'm going to use this. It's the same when you have like ballets. Like you see a ballet of A Christmas Carol or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like, I completely agree.
I think that's completely fine. I'm fine with it. But I can see why others wouldn't think, especially when there hasn't been a faithful Dune at that point. That's
the hardest thing for me. Is it's different if you're adapting the book that Jojo Rabbit was based on, because
no one's read.
Like what is that? Like where are your diehard fans? Whereas Dune to some people is almost like the Bible. So it's like me picking up the Bible and going, this is good, right? But I'm going to make Joshua's the Bible. So
I mean, it's
I'm
like
going to take
Harry
the
Potter
character
and
of
just
Jesus, and I'm gonna adapt his story to fit whatever I want to do.
And it's going to end with him becoming a planet.
Yeah. Like what? So what are some of the bizarre ideas that aren't anywhere in relation to the book at all?
Leto, his father, is castrated and conceives Paul with a drop of blood
that turns into sperm, of course, because it has to
and
be
you
sperm.
watch that whole thing, the way he's describing it, and it's like, what's that got to do with anything? The opening shot, which I actually think sounds quite interesting, to show the importance of spice. It goes through the whole universe in one long shot, and you see like pirates stealing it, and you see these vast empires are built rich off spice, and that sounds quite interesting. It's one of the many things where it's like, okay, in the 70s, this would never have worked.
No chance, yeah.
There's like, just like visual things like Baron Harkonnen lives in a giant statue of himself and the mouth opens up and the spaceships land on his tongue and stuff like that.
Dune the book, the way I read it, the way I understand it, that Frank Herbert was more interested in making a world than a story.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
he was more interested.
Yeah,
like how would Arrakis work as a real place? Like how would people feasibly live out there, like with still suits and natives and worms? How would this intergalactic council, like emperor and these families work? And then it's you kind of extrapolate that, don't you? And you look at Villeneuve's Dune, you're like, okay. Yeah. That all kind of makes sense because it's like quote unquote as realistic as you could be with such a high concept.
Yeah.
Like nowhere am I reading Dune and am I seeing like pure flamboyant colours and huge Baron Harkonnen statues that he's living in. And
I think Baron Harkonnen's quite eccentric to a certain extent. He's weird.
Oh, weird completely. But
he's taken seriously as well.
It's like it's just the wrong tone. Like for me, it's like a tonal misunderstanding of the book.
But that's part of it's Jodorowsky's Dune. It's not his Dune.
Oh, completely.
It is.
And you look at his films, and they're just full of color.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that Dune looks like a texture's gone missing from a video game. Like, that's how everything is designed.
That's how the spaceship looks on the poster. I just thought when you mentioned still suits, like, about when I just died laughing watching Lynch's one. You know, in Villeneuve's Dune, when he's talking about the still suits, it says, like, your sweat is reabsorbed as water, which you can then drink. And then in Lynch's one, it goes, your urine and feces is collected. And it was so funny. And it's like, yeah, I know that is, like, it is canon in, like, the film stuff, but they just... You can't take a scene seriously when they're saying that.
So a big part of this film is Jodorowsky crewing up.
Yeah. Hiring some huge names.
Big names. Starting with Mobius, who is a French comic book artist.
Yeah, like the main two in the documentary I'm not familiar with. But yeah, he's done all his drawings, all the storyboards, right? So,
interestingly, the way he started it was he almost described it as filming without a camera, where he would sit down on a like quote unquote shoot day with Mobius, who's this French comic book artist, and would explain the frames that he would want, like what he would want to shoot, and Mobius would just sit down and crack out storyboards. So he storyboarded the entire film start to finish, which, like, don't get me wrong, isn't an uncommon thing, but I feel like the way he went about it, usually you would see sequences being storyboarded, like big action scenes that cost a lot of money that you need to convince someone with money to give you. But doing like a whole film start to finish, what an interesting.
I think that does happen though. That's never been released publicly, has it? Because they mentioned.
I had a look. I couldn't see it
because they mentioned it was some celebrity or some like famous. Was it the director of Drive or something? Said that he is one of the few people who has
Nicholas
read
Winding Wren.
Yeah, he said he read the whole thing and he was like, "Trust me, if you've seen this film, this is crazy." They should release it as a book.
They should, yeah.
Especially it'd be good to do like an animated series of it or something, just to do something with it. Yeah, there's a bunch of like people he has in it. I think there's a producer.
The French
producer. He's also being interviewed. Yeah, there's like Dan O'Bannon, who's passed away, so he's not interviewed in the documentary, but they include his voice. I was familiar with him. He talked about he was hired because originally he wanted, who was it? It was someone really famous, and they didn't give him any time of day. It was Douglas Trumbull.
2001, wasn't
Douglas
it?
Trumbull.
2001, man. Yeah.
He's like the most famous of that shit. And so he watched Dark Star and got Dan O'Bannon instead. I've seen Dark Star. It's a student film. It's very cheap for sci-fi. It's John Carpenter's student film. Dan O'Bannon
is it?
Produced it with him and like wrote it. Yeah, but it's like John Carpenter's directorial debut. But it's a student film, and so it's high budget for a student film. But it's made with the sets are made with like crates and the villain's an inflatable beach ball with like some stuff stuck in it. So I'm very interested that he chose him, but I can kind of see why you would, because on such a low budget, it is quite impressive what they managed. And Dan O'Bannon did go on to do some really great stuff. Yeah, and then who else? He
H.R. Geiger.
Who was it for music? That was someone really famous. Pink Floyd?
He sat down for a meeting with Pink Floyd and explained that this film was going to change the world. And Pink Floyd said they would do an album for them.
But this is also because it's a little bit untrustworthy narrator. He seems to imply that Pink Floyd was like fully into the idea. Is that the case? We don't know.
We'll never know.
And it's like...
and like Mick Jagger coming up to him at a party and being like, I want to play Elvis's part.
Yeah.
Who else?
And,
Salvador Dali.
Salvador Dali, yeah. Yeah. And Orson Welles as Baron Harkonnen. Apparently into it if he gets paid more than any actor's ever been paid in history.
Yeah. What would Orson Welles say if he was Baron Harkonnen?
I can't even remember the quote. It was like, I like this French or something. What was it?
Ooh, the French.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, it's as like a pipe dream film, if with all the money in the world, I think it could have been really cool and it would have been the biggest thing ever. But it's almost strange to talk about how it could have ever been made, how they thought it could. Because it ends with them being like, oh, it's a Hollywood thing, we're all European, and it's all too surrealist, they wouldn't have gone for it. And it's like, I'm surprised they kind of thought they would in the first place.
Yeah, it's not like a studio came up to him and said, what do you want to make? It was just a producer came up to him and said, what do you want to make?
Yeah.
And the fact that he managed to get so many people on board with like no funding was weird.
But to be fair, listening to him talk throughout the movie, he has got the gift of the gab. He is so fascinating to talk to, and he's so like passionate that he sounds clever because he wholeheartedly believes in what he's saying. Whether or not there's any like objective merit to it is another matter. But he is like persuasive. I get that, and I get why. Yeah, if you went for a meeting with him, you could be like, "Wow, this guy knows what he's talking about." Would it have been good?
I don't think it would have been good. I think it would have been a beautiful.
It couldn't have been good because of the 70s. If it was good, if it was made later,
even then, I just think it's
he's
too
still
weird.
alive. Could he do it today?
No, he would have a heart attack trying to make it.
And it's like he says at the end when Lynch's gets made instead, and he's like, I'm really jealous, but David Lynch is a very similar, like, surrealist filmmaker, and it's like, he was like, okay, great, so they're still going with this sort of vision, and he didn't want to watch it, then his sons forced him to, and then he said...
His son, who he cast as Paul.
Yeah, that, right, that, no studio would have agreed to that, and I don't know how he ever thought they would. I'm surprised, like, Orson Welles and that wasn't like, come on.
What, yeah.
Maybe he was, but he wouldn't have mentioned it, would he?
He was too busy thinking about the French, wasn't he?
Yeah. That was quite a funny scene when he's watching it in the cinema and he's feeling really bad, and then it starts and he's like, and I was overjoyed because it was shit. That's good. And he was, just saying how he knows that that wasn't on Lynch, that was the producers completely reining it back and trying to make just a conventional Hollywood film out of it. And it's kind of some happiness in the end that his vision was never tainted because it never got to the point of being made, and so the storyboards still exist in the exact format he wanted the film to be. And
he's even taken ideas and turned it into a comic, or comics. Like, good for him. Like, if that's what you want to do, good for you.
Yeah. So it was an interesting
Jorodovsky.
Documentary. I'm normally like not big into just talking head stuff, but this is literally just Jorodovsky and people just telling you the story of it. Such an interesting story, and it is just well worth a watch. Yeah, I think so. If you're interested in filmmaking and behind the scenes, or Dune, watch it. Like, it's great. I don't know. Are we done with this review of? Yeah. What did you rate it? Dune? I think it was 4 stars. It was good. Yeah, I gave it 4.5. Very much enjoyed it. Curse double features. Oh boy, what a segment. We're gonna be really cute and do one each. Yeah, from each film. Yeah. So you go on then. You do June 1. Okay, June 1. I paired it with the horror film February and the drama May December, because it's strange that they're doing this cinematic universe like really out of order. Bit Star Warsy, isn't it? They've done February, then May December. They did that one as a double feature, and then June. But yeah, no, I'm sure they'll get to the others at some point. It's just a budgetary thing, I think. Just do the easier ones first. We need to make a film called what should we do? March. Yeah, that's when I was born. Sick. March of the Penguins. Yeah, but that's not just March. No, it's not. I've got June 2. All right, we'll do June 2 then. Okay. June 2 and Aliens in the Attic. Oh, banger. In which Austin Butler plays a family man who goes out of his way to protect his family from another race of aliens in a fight to the death. That happens. I watched Aliens in the Attic this week. That happens. And did you watch it because you saw Austin Butler was in it? I saw a tweet about that and I was like, oh my god, that is Austin Butler. That's crazy. And then I was like, wait, I know for a fact it's on Netflix because I've seen it recommended before. And so I was like, I'll give it a watch. I have that on PSP. I had a PSP DVD game of Aliens in the Attic. We watched it at school a couple of times. It's a fun film. I mean, for that age group, like, it is just a really fun film. I liked it a lot. I would have killed them. I would have just booted them really hard
and they would have
Oh
died.
yeah, you could kick their heads off easy. They're quite small. Right, I've got June 2 and Last Night in Soho. Because the lead character dreams about Anya Taylor-Joy.
Oh, that's a good one. Cute.
And also me.
I've got what? They Dream of You.
No, I also do.
Oh,
Don't we all?
I've got one for Jodorowsky's Dune.
Do you now?
It'd be Jodorowsky's Dune and Speed Racer, because if Jodorowsky's Dune was made, they would both be multicoloured, horrific, nightmare-fueled, drug-induced experiences that might be fun to watch with a couple of beers and a couple of good friends.
That's true. That's a good point.
Thank you.
I've got the structure for one, but I don't have it.
Oh, here we
It's
go.
something about an old man ranting about, like, say, worms for an hour and a half. Is there a film that fits that? Or an old man ranting about sand for an hour and a half?
What
Or an
about
old man ranting about...
Anakin talks about sand, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, but he doesn't like it, and Jodorowsky does. Doesn't matter, we'll not do that. Anyway, I've got Lynch's Dune with Babe Toothpick in the City, because they both feature a big inflatable person floating around the room.
Nice, I like it. Well, we've got loads of comments.
Oh my
loads
God,
of comments.
Let's go
loads
through
and
some.
loads. We're not going to do a short this week because it's already too long.
I know.
And we've had loads of comments. Thank you so much for everyone on YouTube for commenting. That's lovely to see. Obviously, send through Cursed Double Features for anyone listening to the podcast. I don't know about you, Matt, but I like the positive ones more than the ones telling us
ones.
that we're stupid.
I like the ones that say our channel's failed. I love them.
And we've had some great ones. We had a guy telling us that we didn't understand the Sony Marvel films. This is from last week.
And every single point he made was wrong.
Like, for example, that Spider-Man isn't integral in Venom's character. Because
character
if
who
you
looks
watch the
like
Venom films...
Venom's the character who looks like Spider-Man.
He never actually uses webs, he uses tendrils. So Spider-Man isn't needed for Venom, which completely misses the point of what we were talking about in the first place.
I know.
But great. If you want to laugh, go and read them. But we do have a little message from our lovely, lovely good friend, Jamie Clark. Say hello, Jamie Clark.
Hello, Jamie Clark. Oh my God, I haven't seen him in over a year. What a lovely chap.
Yeah, he dropped me a message and said Madam Web was so bad that it didn't deserve a double feature, and he enjoyed the podcast last week.
Oh, well, that's nice to
Very
hear.
kind. And he also sent through some double features that were much better than ours that I'll read to you right now. The first one he gave was Madam Web and 50 Shades of Grey, which we didn't say, but I think his explanation was funnier than what we would have come up with, which is both films feature Dakota Johnson selling her body to a contract that she didn't fully understand or read.
That's good.
Really great. And then we've got Madam Web and 50 Shades Darker as both market their protagonists wearing skin-tight leather suits, but neither deliver in the actual film.
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know, Jamie. But
And Madam Web and 50 Shades Freed,
God.
because I never watched it, same way I never watched Madam Web.
well, unfortunately, I have seen Madam Web, but I haven't seen 50 Shades Freed, and I don't intend to.
Thank you very much, Jamie. They're much better than ours from last week. Oh, thank you so much, Jamie Clark. We'll hopefully see you very soon on the next one.
Thank you. Is that everything? We're done, are we? For a week?
I think
What's
so.
Next week?
I think so.
What's out next week?
Like nothing's out because June's
Lisa
out.
Frankenstein.
Nothing's out. Lisa Frankenstein. That's on streaming now, so we can watch that.
Yeah,
I don't know if we just do
been a while
like films we've
Oscar
missed.
Roundup. If they
Oscar
stick one.
Roundup. Like we haven't seen Lisa
Whatever.
Frankenstein.
We'll work it out.
Yeah. When's Phantom Menace out? That's being re-released soon. We can
Is
do a
it?
Phantom Menace episode. Yeah, it's going back
In
to
3D?
cinemas. I don't know. It might be in 4DX. Who
Oh,
knows?
that's fun. I'd love that for the pod race, a bit. Get whiplash.
I'll be like Sebulba.
It spins your seat round and you blow up.
Oh God, great. Well, thank you very much, Matt.
Oh, I've had the time of my life. So, if you've been watching this Dune review, thank you for sticking with us.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the film more than I did. We've actually also recorded an Oscars episode, our predictions.
We have.
So give that a listen to if you haven't already. I think that was funnier than... I thought that was actually probably better work from us than the Dune one. So yeah, give that a watch. And that's it. We're done for the week.
Done for the week. I'm going back to bed.
I might do the same.
Can you think of a funny June send-off?
I'll see you on the next worm.
That's good. That was so fast as well. Oh my god. What do you think when Timothée Chalamet was calling for the worm to ride, but the worm he called was too big, and
Story of my life.
What's his name? The man from No Country for Old Men. I can't think. Javier Bardem was like, that's too big. That worm's too big. Timmy still rode the worm.
Still did it.
It was too big for him.
Whoa,
the white boy.
We're talking about June, not Call Me By Your Name.
Oh, sorry about that. They had to digitally remove the worm from Call Me By Your Name. They had to digitally add it in June.
Yeah. Right.
There you go. That's a double feature for you.
There we go. That works. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to say see you on the next worm then?
See you on the next worm then.
See you on the next worm. Well, I'm glad that worked.
Goodbye.
Bye.